Clothes off. All of you. Now. The American sergeant's voice bounces off wet concrete. 37 women freeze. Nobody moves. Nobody breathes. Hedwig Falkenrath, 21, former Luftwaffe signals operator, feels her stomach drop through the floor. This is it. Everything they warned about, everything whispered in training camps. The Americans. What they do to women. She's standing in a concrete room somewhere in the Rhineland. March 1945. The walls sweat moisture. The floor is slick. And a man with a rifle is telling them to undress. 37 women. That's the number. Largest female POW transport processed this month. But here's the thing. Only 400 German women are held in all-American custody. 400 out of 500,000 POWs. She's a statistical anomaly, a rounding error, and rounding errors disappear. Sie werden uns wie Vieh behandeln. Das haben sie uns gesagt. They will treat us like cattle. That's what they told us. Gisela Hartmann, 34, Wehrmacht nurse captured near Cologne, reaches for Hedwig's hand. Squeezes. Her palm is ice. 23 days since their last wash. 23 days of sweat and fear and dirt ground into skin. 23 days of waiting for something worse than dirt. The smell hits first. Lye soap, industrial, harsh. The kind that strips everything, oil, grime, dignity. Steam hisses from pipes overhead. The sound is wrong. Too loud. Like something preparing to scream. Bettina Wendt, 19, conscripted clerk, youngest in the group, starts to cry. Silent tears cutting tracks through grime on her face. She's thinking about the propaganda films, the warnings, what happens to German women when enemy soldiers win. But then, a shape in the doorway, behind the sergeant, moving forward. Not a man, a woman, American uniform, officer insignia, something in her hands, not a weapon, something white, rectangular. Paper? The sergeant steps aside. The woman walks past him like he doesn't exist. Her boots click on wet concrete. Closer, closer. She stops in front of Hedwig, opens her mouth, and speaks perfect German. Not textbook German, not interrogation German, Bavarian dialect. The kind Hedwig's grandmother used, the kind that means home. Ich bin hier, euch zu beschützen. I am here to protect you. The words don't compute. They hang in the steam like something impossible. Protection? From Americans? That's not how this works. That's not what they were told. Hedwig looks at the woman's hands. The white rectangle. It's not paper. It's a list, with their names on it. Ich bin hier, euch zu beschützen. Lieutenant Margareta Schuller says it again. Slower this time, like she's talking to frightened animals, which Hedwig realizes she basically is. Margaret Schuller. 28 years old, second-generation German-American from Milwaukee, one of only 12 female translators in the entire European theater of operations. 12 women, for millions, of prisoners, and somehow, impossibly, one of them speaks Bavarian. This is a delousing facility, Margaret continues. Her German flows like water. You will shower 7 minutes, then medical examination, then clean uniforms, then food. Food. The word lands like a grenade. When did they last eat? Hedwig can't remember. Maybe the bread 2 days ago? The moldy stuff that tasted like sawdust and desperation. But Gisela isn't buying it. The nurse's eyes narrow. 34 years of medical training taught her one thing. People lie. Eine Deutsche in ihrer Uniform? Verräterin oder Falle? A German in their uniform? Traitor or trap? You don't believe me, Margaret says, not a question. She reaches for her collar, starts unbuttoning her jacket. The room goes rigid. What is she doing? Is this some kind of demonstration? Some American humiliation tactic? Sergeant Bill Tackert, 31, standing at the door, visibly uncomfortable. He shifts his weight, looks away. Something about this is wrong, or maybe something about this is procedure he's been briefed on and hates. Margareta's jacket drops to the wet floor. She works on her shirt buttons. 1, 2, 3. Steam curls around her shoulders. The hiss of pipes fills the silence. Bettina stops crying. Staring now. Everyone is staring. Margaretta's fingers pause on the fourth button. She looks at Hedwig directly. Typhus, she says. You know what it is? Hedwig nods. Everyone knows. The fever that eats you from inside. The death that takes 10 days to finish the job. 340 dead last week in a nearby camp. Lice carry it. Lice that live in dirty clothes, dirty hair, dirty everything. We have 7 minutes, Margaret says. 7 minutes to save your lives. The shower kills the lice. Not you. The lice. Her fingers move again. Fifth button. Sixth. She pulls the shirt open, and Hedwig sees it. A scar. 6 inches long, running from collarbone to sternum, pink, raised, fresh enough to be angry, old enough to be healed. American surgery, Margaret says. They cut me open to save my life. Now I'm going to save yours. She reaches for her dog tags, holds them up. This is who I am, and I'm not leaving this room until every one of you believes me. The scar changes everything, and nothing. Hedwig stares at the raised pink line bisecting Margaret's chest. 6 inches of proof. 6 inches of something that doesn't fit the propaganda. Tuberculosis, Margaret says. I was dying. German doctors in Milwaukee couldn't help. Army doctors could. She traces the scar with one finger. Casual, like it's a birthmark, not a death sentence commuted. Gisela steps forward. The nurse's eyes are different now, professional, calculating. She's seen enough wounds to read them like text. The stitching, Gisela whispers. It's clean, too clean. Die Naht ist sauber. Kein deutsches Lazarett macht das so. No German field hospital does work like that, not anymore. Not with supplies running out, not with doctors dying faster than soldiers. Here's the math that breaks everything. TB mortality in German field hospitals by 1944, 67%. More than half die. The lucky ones die fast. TB mortality in U.S. Army hospitals, 12%. Margaret spent 4 months recovering, 4 months of American medicine, American food, American mercy that propaganda said didn't exist. Now she's here, paying it forward or paying it back. Hedwig can't tell the difference anymore. Gisela's hand rises, reaches toward the scar, stops inches away, trembling. Then something breaks inside the nurse. Her face crumples. Tears streak through the grime. Her shoulders shake with sobs that make no sound. What? Margaret asks, soft, concerned. What is it? But Gisela can't speak. She's staring at her own hands now. Hands that have stitched wounds. Hands that have failed. Hands that remember. She's thinking of someone, Hedwig realizes. Someone she couldn't save. The steam keeps hissing. Time keeps bleeding. Somewhere outside, a truck engine coughs to life. The world moves on. But in this concrete room, something has shifted. Frida Lorenz, 26, former factory worker, pushes through the group. She's limping, has been limping since capture. Hedwig noticed but didn't ask. You don't ask. Not about wounds. Not when wounds mean weakness. Not when weakness means death. But now Frida is rolling up her trouser leg, revealing what she's been hiding. A gash, 4 inches long, edges green, infection, the kind that takes limbs, the kind that kills slow. I have one too, Frida says, voice flat, dead, already surrendered. I didn't show anyone. I thought... She doesn't finish, doesn't need to. Margaret looks at the wound, looks at the room, opens her mouth. How many of you have wounds you haven't shown anyone? Silence. Then hands begin to rise. 17 hands. 17 confessions written in flesh. They rise slowly, shamefully, like prayers nobody believes in anymore. Hedwig watches the hands go up. She knows what this means. 17 women hid wounds rather than show them to Americans. 17 women chose possible death over certain exposure. The propaganda worked that well. Ich dachte, wenn ich es zeige, nehmen Sie das Bein, oder Schlimmeres. I thought if I showed it, they'd take the leg, or worse. That's Frida, 26 years old, former factory worker, 60 hours from gangrene, 60 hours from the point where American medicine won't matter. The green edges of her wound glisten in the overhead light. The smell is there too, sweet and rotting. The smell of flesh giving up. Margaret moves fast. Barks something in English at Sergeant Tackert. He disappears through the door. Boot steps echo down a corridor. Urgent. 2 minutes later, the door opens again. Not Tackert. A woman, American, Red Cross armband. Medical bag in hand. Corporal Annalise Brandt, 24, U.S. Army. Nurse, Wisconsin accent, hands already gloved. She doesn't hesitate, doesn't flinch at the smell, doesn't look at faces, only wounds. Kneels beside Frida like this is Sunday morning, like infection is just another problem with a solution. Sulfa powder, she announces to no one, digging in her bag, stops 89% of infections when applied in time. 89%. The number hangs there. In German field hospitals, the number is closer to 30, maybe 20, maybe less. Nobody's counting anymore. Annalise tears open a packet. White powder, clinical, clean. The first clean thing to touch Frida's leg in weeks. The powder hits the wound. Frida hisses, sharp, involuntary, but doesn't scream. Screaming is for people who expect help. She'll keep the leg, Annalise says, looking at Margaret, then adds 3 more words that don't compute. Shower first, non-negotiable. Wait, shower first before treatment? Hedwig's confusion must show because Margaret answers before she can ask. Lice, Margaret says. If we treat wounds before delousing, we risk contamination. Typhus in an open wound is 100% fatal. 0 exceptions. 0. The number lands like a verdict. The shower isn't punishment, Annalise adds, rising from Frida's side. It's the first step in saving your lives. She reaches into her bag again, pulls out more sulfa packets, 17 of them, 1 for each wound. 7 minutes, she says. Shower. Then I fix every single one of you. Hedwig looks at the shower heads, still dripping, still waiting. She starts unbuttoning her uniform. I don't care if you're bleeding. Lice carry typhus. Typhus kills faster than gangrene. Everyone showers. Now. Annalise's voice leaves no room for negotiation. Medical authority that transcends language, transcends enemy lines, transcends everything except biology. But there's still the problem, the obvious problem, the problem standing at the door. Sergeant Tackert has returned, male, armed, present. Hedwig's hands freeze on her buttons. 3rd one undone. 4th waiting. She looks at Tackert. Tackert looks at the floor. Protocol, Margaret says, reading the room, reading the fear. U.S. Army Regulation 445-7. Male guards must face away during female POW hygiene procedures. Violation means court-martial, dishonorable discharge, up to 5 years military prison. The words are precise. Legal, meaningless to women who've seen laws, mean nothing. Steht da. Warum dreht sich nicht Wann kommt es? He's standing there. Why isn't he turning around? When does it come? Gisela whispers it, voice barely audible over the hissing pipes. The question everyone is thinking. The question propaganda has planted so deep, it's become instinct. But then, Tackert moves, not toward them, away, turns his back, faces the door, shoulders square, hands visible at his sides, doesn't speak, doesn't explain, just turns, like it's automatic, like this is what he's always done, like the regulation isn't paper, it's reflex. 2 guards have already been court-martialed this month, this sector, this unit. Tackert knows the numbers, knows the consequences, knows his career ends the moment he breaks position. But Hedwig isn't watching Tackert anymore. She's watching his hands. They're shaking. Why? What is he afraid of? He has the gun. He has the power. So why do his fingers tremble against his thighs? Margaret steps forward, places something in Hedwig's palm, small, white, rectangular. The soap, same harsh lye smell, same industrial purpose, but now different. Now it means something else. Now it means 7 minutes of trust. I'll be in there with you, Margaret says. Quiet. Just for Hedwig. On your side of the glass, the whole time. Glass. There's a frosted glass partition separating the shower area from the entrance. Hedwig hadn't noticed before. Too much fear. Too much noise. She nods. Fingers close around the soap. The water starts. Someone turned it on. The sound is deafening. Pipes screaming, pressure releasing, steam erupting. One by one, uniforms drop to wet concrete. One by one, bodies step into the spray. Hedwig moves forward. Water hits her skin. Hot, almost painful. Then she sees it. A shadow. Moving behind the frosted glass. A shape behind the glass. Moving. Watching. Hedwig's scream dies in her throat. Water streams down her face. Her hands fly to cover herself. Useless. Instinctive. Useless. This is it. This is what they warned about. The shadow is proof. The shadow is female. The shape steps around the partition, into the steam, into view. Another American woman, older, maybe 32, different uniform insignia, sanitation officer markings. She's holding something, not a weapon, a thermometer, the kind you stick in water. 104 degrees, the woman announces, reading the thermometer. Perfect. Too hot burns skin, too cold doesn't kill lice. She looks up, sees 37 naked women frozen in terror, doesn't react, doesn't apologize, just nods. Lieutenant Ingrid Vasquez, sanitation. I'm checking water temperature, not checking you. Sie prüft das Wasser, nicht uns, das Wasser. She's checking the water, not us, the water. Gisela says it out loud. Like speaking it makes it real, like words can override years of conditioning. Lieutenant Vasquez moves through the steam, checking gauges, adjusting valves, completely uninterested in bodies. Her eyes stay on pipes, on pressure readings, on the mechanics of keeping people alive. Here's what Hedwig doesn't know. Vasquez has processed over 1,400 women in 3 months. 0 incidents, 0 complaints, 0 violations. This is her job. Keeping water at 104 degrees, keeping soap stocked, keeping women alive long enough to be processed, treated, released. Vasquez pulls a photograph from her pocket, glances at it, touches the edge with one finger, tucks it back. The motion takes 2 seconds, but Hedwig notices. Who is in that photograph? Why does she touch it like a prayer? The question burns, but there's no time. Vasquez is moving again, handing something to Bettina, the 19-year-old. The crying girl who stopped crying. A towel, clean, rough cotton, military issue. Bettina takes it with shaking hands, stares at it like it's made of gold. First clean cloth to touch her skin in weeks. Vasquez almost smiles, almost. Then she's passed, handing out more towels, efficient, mechanical, merciful. The 7 minutes end. Water stops. Steam slowly clears. Women stand dripping, clean for the first time in almost a month, wrapped in rough towels, still afraid, still waiting for the other shoe to drop. Margaret appears at the partition entrance. Medical examination next, she says. Sergeant Tackert will escort. She stops. Tackert isn't there. Someone else stands at the door, younger, different uniform, different face. And he's not facing away. A new face at the door, 19, maybe 20, frozen in place like a deer in headlights. Private First Class Walter Emmerich, 3 weeks in Europe, replacement soldier. Arrived yesterday, got 45 minutes of POW protocol training instead of the standard 4 hours. Nobody told him about Regulation 445-7. Nobody told him about facing away. He's staring, not with malice, not with hunger, just staring, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. He's never seen this many women, never seen this much fear directed at him, never understood what it means to be the monster in someone else's nightmare. Der Junge sieht aus wie mein Bruder, erschrocken, nicht bösartig. The boy looks like my brother, scared, not malicious. Hedwig thinks it, doesn't say it. The resemblance is uncanny, same blonde hair, same too young face, same expression of someone who wandered into a situation way beyond his depth. But recognition doesn't stop the fear. 37 women clutch towels tighter. 37 bodies try to shrink. 37 throats close around screams. 3 seconds. That's how long it takes Lieutenant Vasquez to move. She crosses the wet floor in 4 strides, boots splashing, no running. She's too professional for that. But fast, deliberate, intercepting. Private, her voice cuts through steam. Eyes, now. Emmerich blinks, finally processes her rank insignia, snaps to something like attention. I was told to, Sergeant Tackert said. I don't care what Tackert said. Vasquez reaches into her pocket, pulls out the photograph, the one she touched earlier, the one Hedwig noticed. She holds it up to Emmerich's face, close enough to see. Look at this. Emmerich looks. His face changes. Something crumbles behind his eyes. Color drains from his cheeks. That's my sister, Vasquez says. Low, controlled, deadly calm. She's in a German POW camp right now, maybe alive, maybe not, and somewhere there's a German guard standing at her shower door. She lets that sink in. What do you want him to do right now, Private? Look or turn around? Emmerich's throat moves, swallowing something, pride, shame, realization. His eyes drop to the photograph again, 2 young women smiling, pre-war, pre-everything. Turn around, he whispers, then turn around. He does, slowly, back to the room, shoulders hunched, hands at his sides, shaking worse than Tackert's. The women exhale, collective, audible. But Hedwig can't look away from the photograph still visible in Vasquez's hand. 2 women, one in American clothes, one in German Red Cross uniform, sisters, on opposite sides of a war. And something about the German sister looks familiar. 2 young women, smiling, summer dresses, 1938, before everything burned. Hedwig stares at the photograph in Vasquez's hand. The American woman on the left is clearly Vasquez, younger, softer, without the military hardness, but the woman on the right, German Red Cross uniform, blonde hair pinned back, smile that reaches her eyes. Sie ist eine von uns, auf der anderen Seite aber eine von uns. She's one of us. On the other side, but one of us. Her name is Ruth, Vasquez says. Still facing the turned-around private, but speaking to everyone. Ruth Vasquez married Heinrich Baumann in Hamburg, 1938. I told her not to. Told her war was coming. She said love doesn't care about borders. The words hang in the steam like ghosts. 12,000 American women have German relatives. 12,000 women with family trapped on the wrong side of maps redrawn by violence. Ruth is one of them, a statistic, a sister, a missing person. Red Cross family tracing requests by May 1945, 2.3 million. Average time to locate someone, 14 months, if they're alive, if records exist, if anyone is left to ask. Vasquez tucks the photograph back in her pocket, pats it once. A ritual she's performed 10,000 times. I process German women, she says, because someday someone is processing Ruth, and I need to believe they're following the rules. Behind Hedwig, someone makes a sound, small, choked, like a word that got stuck. Gisela. The nurse pushes forward, past Hedwig, past the other women, toward Vasquez. Ruth Baumann, Gisela says, voice strange, distant. Hamburg Hospital, Red Cross Auxiliary. Vasquez turns, slowly, face carefully blank. The face of someone who's learned not to hope. You know her? I worked with her. Gisela's hands are trembling now. 3 months ago, before I was captured, she was alive. The words stop. Gisela's face is doing something complicated, memory and present colliding, something she's carried for 90 days, suddenly becoming relevant. She gave me a message, Gisela whispers, in case I was captured by Americans, in case I met someone who knew her. Vasquez's military composure cracks, just a fraction, just enough to show something human underneath. What message? Gisela closes her eyes. When she opens them, they're wet. She said to tell Dorothy. She stops, corrects. She said to tell her sister. Ingrid, Vasquez breathes. My name is Ingrid. She said to tell Ingrid she named her daughter after her. Vasquez's knees buckle. She was alive 3 months ago. She gave me a message in case I was ever captured by Americans. Gisela's voice shakes, but the words are clear. Words she's carried like contraband. Words she never expected to deliver. Lieutenant Vasquez is on her knees, wet concrete soaking through her uniform. She doesn't notice, doesn't care. The photograph lies beside her in a puddle. 2 sisters smiling in summer dresses, getting wet. Ruth said, Gisela pauses, breathes, continues. Ruth said to tell you she forgives you for not writing, for the silence. She knows letters don't cross enemy lines. She knows. Vasquez's shoulders shake, silent. The kind of crying that happens when sound is too expensive. And there's more, Gisela says. Softer now, gentle, like delivering medicine that heals and hurts simultaneously. The baby, your niece. Ruth named her Ingrid Baumann, born January 1945. Wir sind alle jemandes Schwester, alle jemandes Tochter. We are all someone's sister, all someone's daughter. Hedwig thinks it. The enemy officer on her knees becomes something else. A sister, a daughter, an aunt who didn't know she was an aunt. Someone's family trapped on the wrong side of history. Bettina, the 19-year-old, moves first, steps forward on bare feet, wet concrete cold beneath her soles. She kneels beside Vasquez, takes her hand without asking permission, an enemy prisoner comforting an enemy captor. The math doesn't work, the propaganda doesn't allow it. But bodies don't care about propaganda. Hands don't know the difference between uniforms. Other women move, surrounding Vasquez, towels dripping, hair wet, boundaries dissolving in steam and grief and something that looks like grace. Margaret watches from the partition, eyes wet, says nothing. Private Emmerich, still facing away, hears everything. His shoulders shake too. He's thinking about his own sister, back in Oklahoma, safe, unaware, lucky. The chance of this meeting, 1 in 340,000. Gisela did the math during the 90 days she carried the message, calculated the odds while marching, while starving, while wondering if survival was even worth the cost. 1 in 340,000. And here they are. Vasquez finally looks up, mascara streaked, military bearing demolished, human now, just human. She's alive, Vasquez says, like testing the words, making them real. Ruth is alive. She was 3 months ago, Gisela corrects. Honest, careful. I can't promise more than that. 3 months is enough. Vasquez picks up the photograph, wipes it on her sleeve, holds it against her chest. 3 months is everything. The door opens behind them. Sergeant Tackert has returned. He sees everything, says nothing. But later, he files a report that changes everything. Incident Report, March 17, 1945. Subject, Exemplary Conduct under Regulation 4457, Recommendation, Commendation. Sergeant Tackert types it himself. 2 fingers, Hunt and Peck. The typewriter keys clack in the empty office, each letter a choice, each word a record. He doesn't document a violation, he documents a miracle. Lieutenant Ingrid Vasquez, commended for exceptional adherence to protocol under emotional duress. Lieutenant Margareta Schuler, commended for medical coordination, saving 17 infected POWs. Corporal Annalise Brandt, commended for treating enemy wounded with the same standard as Allied personnel. Regulation 445-7 compliance in this unit, 100%, for the remainder of the war. 0 violations, 0 exceptions. Here's what happens next. Hedwig Falkenrath survives, repatriated August 1945, testifies at Nuremberg about propaganda lies, how they were told Americans were monsters, how the monsters gave them soap and saved their legs. She becomes a translator, spends 40 years building bridges with words. Gisela Hartmann returns to nursing, opens a clinic in Frankfurt, 1947, treats everyone, Germans, Americans, Jews, survivors. Her hands, the ones that couldn't save everyone, save thousands more. Bettina Wendt, the crying girl who stopped crying, becomes a school teacher, teaches this story for 40 years, shows her students what mercy looks like when no one's watching. Frida Lorenz keeps her leg, walks her daughter down the aisle, 1962, dances at the wedding, slowly, carefully, gratefully. And Ingrid Vasquez, she finds Ruth, July 23, 1945, Hamburg. 7 years since they last embraced. Ruth is thinner, older, holding a 6-month-old baby girl. "This is Ingrid," Ruth says, lifting the child, "named after the bravest person I know." The sisters hold each other for 11 minutes. Nobody counts. Everybody cries. Of 37 women processed that day in a concrete shower room in the Rhineland, 36 survived the war. One dies of typhus contracted before capture, already past the window. Nothing could have saved her. Everything saved the rest. The soap, the white bar Hedwig held in the shower. She keeps it. 40 years. Shows it to her grandchildren. "This is what mercy looks like," she tells them. "Small, white, ordinary. The kind of thing you don't notice until it saves your life. Ich habe den Feind gefürchtet, aber der Feind gab mir Seife, heilte mein Bein und weinte mit mir. Wer war der wahre Feind? I feared the enemy, but the enemy gave me soap, healed my leg, and cried with me. Who was the real enemy? Clothes off, all of you, now." Those words were supposed to begin horror. Instead, they began healing.